자, 여러분 반갑습니다. Welcome back to our class. So we are already in the week 11. So this is November 10th. So I'd like to get started with class outline. So what we are going to do during this hour, 3 hours, we are taking a journey about the translation word. So I would say we will start with the 3 texts here. So this will be, so we are going to practice the translation. So I selected the 3 texts. So each text has different translation method. Then we will move on to the second session. Then we will talk about the Bible tray. So what is the Bible trail? So when it comes to English, people usually say it is 1,500 year history. So it usually says the English started about AD 500. The Anglo-Saxon, they arrived in the British Island at the request of Celtic people. So that's why we usually say we are living. So English is 150 year history. Then I was thinking about, is there another trail that can bring us further back to the ancient society? That was the Bible trail. The Bible trail, it is a story of 5,000 years old. Why? Because it started with about BC 810. So it's about the story of Genesis, Abraham, and his son, the Isaac, and Jacob, and the Joseph. That is an amazing story about how they started, the Jewish people, and it goes back to the BC 2,000 years. Then you might wonder, so Bible trail, what does it have to do with our translation class? Yes, it does. Bible trail, it will be interesting for us to discuss the Bible translation. How the Bible was translated into the Greek, and how was it translated in Latin language, then how it was translated in English. So what is meaningful for our class? So for each time, there is a global, I would say there is global turning point for each translation. So there is some story behind the translation of the Bible. So we are going to share the story, which story is hidden in the history of translating the Bible. Then we are moving on to the third session. We will continue with the theory. So we will continue with the scale of text reliability. So we are always thinking about, this is the fidelity end of the scale, and this is the fluency end of the scale. So we are talking about the translator should decide which end they should go closer. So their choices should be somewhere between, it should be literal translation, or this should be the free translation, and this should be also adaptation. So they must decide. If you are a translator, you must decide what is your strategy for the text reliability. Of course, it depends on the scopus and the demands of your clients. If that is technical report, then clients will ask you, I'd like to translate as faithful as to the original text. So you cannot edit. You cannot put your opinion. So you should follow and respect the client's opinion. And the last class, remember, we are shifting. The translator always shifting their strategies according to the text type. For example, if that is a literature, for example, is like the novel, that it makes sense to be faithful to the original text. Even though it sounds a little bit foreign, it sounds awkward, and the Korean, for example, the Korean would find it very painful to follow its meaning. That means that the text is very faithful to the original text. So sometimes the Korean readers, they will be complaining, I cannot understand what it says. There must be some problem with the translators. So the readers, they can be complaining, but we must understand that that's the way that the literature translation should be. So it should be sound a little bit audience, and so that's what the Venuti has argued. He had asserted, that has claimed. So that's why it's interesting to find the Western readers' reaction to the recent translation of vegetarian, 채식주의자, 그죠? So in 채식주의자, actually there is another translator who had translated the 채식주의자 into Korean before the second translator, Deborah Smith, did. But her translation didn't work. But Deborah Smith's translation, it worked. So what's the difference in their translation strategies? That's why, so I am curious, what is the difference? If time permits, I'd like to read the two versions of translation, and then I'd like to compare. So, but anyway, the Western readers say Deborah Smith's translation style is he chose to the fluency end of the Western readers. When Americans read the translate text of vegetarian, Americans didn't feel, wow, is this a Korean novel? I cannot believe. It sounds like American novel. So that means Deborah Smith chose a translation strategy that tends to go more thoroughly, more closely the fluency end of the skill. So that challenges our traditional concept. The literature translation should go closer to the fidelity end of the skill. So anyway, that's interesting. There is standard, but sometimes there is a shift. So so language itself is very dynamic, so is the translation theory. So there is a new trend, Anyway, so we will continue. So we have three texts here. The first text is about climate change. So the climate change, it is just only 2 paragraphs and very short one. So in this case, we are going to share our technique, so-called note-taking. So note-taking is one of the basic skills that translators should learn, interpreters should learn. When you are a consecutive interpreter, they are using the note-taking. So you might note-taking is useful not only for the consecutive interpreter, but as a student or when you are working for the business, then business manager, the note-taking is a very useful tool. So when I was writing a report, business report for the foreign media in the United States or UK, then I used the note-taking. So what is note-taking? They use usually the note. The note is a very small one, and you have lots of paper, enough paper. You should prepare enough paper. Then in my case, if there is a note, then I cut it in. I continue to write it down. So as time goes by, that I can gain the speed. I can write very fast. So what is the method? So is there any method in note-taking? What is the condition for the note-taking? So I didn't start note-taking at the beginning of our class. Why? There is a condition when we start learning note-taking. The first condition is that you should increase your memory span. First of all, you must increase. That means that you should memorize. So this is actually the starting of interpreting or interpreting is the practice of expanding, increasing your memory span. Memory span. So it requires a lot of practice. So once you reach a memory span, then we start with the word-for-word translation. Then we move to the next step, the sentence-for-sentence translation. Then we move to the next step, paragraph to paragraph translation. In this way, we are taking a step-by-step procedure to increase the memory span. So then we are confident. Wow, I can make a consecutive interpretation after hearing 2 minutes or 3 minutes of a speech. Then that you are ready to learn the note taking. Why? Because if you try to note taking before your memory span is increasing, what is the mistake? Because then you would write every detail. You will try to every detail into the note taking. So you are trying to depend on your note taking without depending more on your memory. So that's why first you must increase memory span, then you can practice the note taking. So what is note taking? You can depend on the information? No. They say note taking, the main function is just a prompter. So I would say this is kind of a trigger of your memory. So when you listen 2 or 3 minutes of a speech of an original speaker, then you must memorize it into your brain. It will be too much. So you are taking down as a sign, just a trigger, just you prompt your memory when it is time for you to interpret what is said. So what is the note taking? So that means that you should not put every detail of what you say. And just a sign, just to put a sign. Then how to make a note taking? So you develop your own style. So when I was a student at the graduate school of interpretation, I remember my teacher, he was a Russian interpreter, and he was fluent in the 5 languages. Actually, he's a simultaneous interpreter in the conference in the United Nations. Then I cannot remember all of them, but one thing that I remember he taught us is just this. He was very sensitive about time order. So he said, if that is future tense, you can put this way. If it is a past tense, you can this way. If some possibility might have been, then you can put this one. So I thought that all interpreters, they should be very sensitive to the time order, especially in English language. The American people and Western people, they tend to be more sensitive to the time order. But for the Korean, for example, English language has about 16 tenses. But in Korean, I don't think that many. I maybe 3 or 2 tenses enough. So anyway, so I thought, wow, he was talking about the importance of a time order. And also he was talking about this connector. There is a SV and SV. There should be a connector word. And this, so, but, or. So this is very important. You must follow closely the connecting word, the meaning of the connector word. So you can follow the logic, that is the meaning, the flow of the meaning of the original speaker. That is the second thing. So I thought, wow, English people, the Western people, they tend to be very logical. They should be clear about cause and effect. And the third thing that he was talking about his own sign. This is international, this is political, this is economic. And also if it increases here, and it decreases here. And he was talking about the chairman, he was a chairman. He drew a chairman. And also he talking about the nation. This is nations. So this is the example he made a science for himself. Then what about me? Well, sometimes it works for me, but for me it did not work well. So what I mean is that you have your own style of note-taking. So in my case, it didn't work that much. I was struggling to find out what is the sign for these philosophical words or more abstract words. So for me, what it was is just to write down fast the target language in Korean language as fast as possible. That is more useful for me to make the note-taking as a prompter. So I'm going to show on my example of note-taking. So I wouldn't say that is the good one, but that worked for me at least. So this is climate change. And second one is Americanism. So actually, I prepared this text for this class, Americanism, then I got it from the editorial from the newspaper during this summer vacation. There was a short one. What is Americanism? What was the driver? What is the impact on the global society? And what is a new kind of Americanism that Democratic President candidate Trump is claiming? So what will be the impact of the global society? That was a short one. But this morning I was surprised. The world was shocked. There was all the Trump is going to be the president of the United States. The world was shocked with Americans' choice to select him as the next president. And maybe the Americans themselves may have been even more shocked by their own choice to select Mr. Trump as their own president. So anyway, the Americanism, this is the Korean text. So I'm going to explain. I'm going to share its background story about the Americanism. Then you will have a time to translate it. So this is a Korean text into English. So, and the next one is so I got the interview article with Deborah Smith. Deborah Smith is translator, British translator of vegetarian. So this is an interview article. So I found it Korean newspaper, 중앙일보. So this is the way. So Deborah Smith, he spoke in English. I don't think they had an interview with the Korean. They must have an interview with an English. So Deborah Smith must have answered in English. Then English was translated in Korean language. Then the Korean version, I would say that is a paraphrase of what she said in English. That was paraphrase of English text from English to Korean. So I don't know what she said in English, I don't know. But what I have is only the Korean text. That is, Korean text is translated from English. So I translated into English. So then I'm going to give you my translated interview article to you, Korean students. Then we are going to use it as the text for the consecutive interpretation. So this is the interview story, so we can share we can use it as a text for the consecutive interpretation. So this is so-called the reverse. They say for Korean students, original text is English. And it was translated into our Korean mother tongue. Then I translated in the mother tongue. Then I translated into English. So you are working on my translated text, then you are translated it into Korean. So this is the reverse translation. Then after that, then you can compare your translated text into Korean into the original text of Korean. So this is the way that you can practice. The reverse translation is when I personally used a lot. I translated the English text into Korean, then Korean, then I translated the English again, then I translated Korean, then I compare with my translated version with the original text. then you can see where you are, where your translation skill is. So these are the three techniques that we are going to practice. First of all, the climate change we are doing, we are sharing a little bit of note-taking. And second one is Americanism, that with the background information, you are going to translate. I would say this is a site translation for the Korean text. And also that we are going to practice the consecutive interpretation with the interview article with Deborah Smith. I think that is the first module of our class, and after 5-minute break, then we will start with this one. Okay, let's get started with the climate, the pitfall of climate change. So this is about the Cuban climate change. So you must decide whether that is really true or false. That really happened, that is really a natural phenomenon, or it's just the first assumption. That is, you must make a decision about the climate change. Then there is one point. We have only experiences. And also there is another statistics here. That is not always work together. That means your own experience is one thing and statistics is another. I mean, so this is abstract statistics. So we have immediate experience that conflicts, that is different from the abstract figures. That means our immediate experience have a bigger impact on our perception about the climate change than the numbers say. So let's take an example. So let's compare. There is terrorism, and there is a skin cancer. Which is more fearful? People is more scared with the terrorism, but what is the reality? More people are killed by the skin cancer. So we can see, for example, the skin cancer patient, their feeling has nothing to do with their cancer, the cancer's progression. So maybe if you are a cancer patient, so you might feel good if you have a good night's sleep. You might feel good. Even if you are a cancer patient, you might feel better if you have a good talk with your friend. So this is about your feeling. Then how about this progression of a disease? That is a matter of measurement. That is about the measurement of the doctor. The disease progresses. The disease is getting more serious. That is made by the doctors. So in many cases, our feeling itself has little to do with the measurement of the doctor. This is one example. So let's get back to our topic of climate change. For example, it is hot. It is hot. It is hot. Then the advocate of global warming, they say, see, that's the sign that our world is global warming is an actual phenomenon that affects our society. But it is cold. Then skeptics of global warming, they would say, no, there is no such thing as a climate change. climate change. They will deny it. So the conclusion is our direct experience has nothing to do with our experience is not the indicator. Our own experiences in daily life is not, it is not the reliable indicator of our climate change. So let's get back to here. So we are talking about climate change. 기후변화에 대해서 얘기합니다. 그게 실제로 있는 일일까요? 아니면 그냥 우리가 상상하는 가정일 뿐일까요? 자, 이것은 우리가 일상적인 경험이 추상적인 수치와는 항상 일치하지 않는다는 걸 나타냅니다. 자, 예를 들어 볼까요? 자, 우리 모든 사람, 대부분의 사람은 테러리즘을 암보다도 더 두려워합니다. 그런데 실제로 보면 어때요? 피부암으로 죽는 사람이 테러리즘보다 죽는 사람이 훨씬 많거든요. 그래서 여기서 그 암 환자가 감정하고 병이 진행된 거는 별개의 문제라는 겁니다. 그래서 지난밤에 잠을 잘 자면 기분이 좋을 건데 이것은 암이 진행 상황이랑은 관계가 없는 거예요. 그건 의사가 측정한 수치일 뿐입니다. 그래서 예를 들어서 기후변화도 마찬가지예요. 최근에 날씨가 더워진다. 그러면은 글로벌 워밍, 지구온난화를 걱정하는 사람 봐라. 이게 지구온난화의 징조다. 그렇게 얘기를 합니다. 그러나 또 날씨가 또 추워지면은 또 지구온난화를 반대하는 사람들이 봐라. 우리 지구온난화는 그거는 하나의 장기적인 패턴일 뿐이지 이거는 우리가 믿을 수 없다. 이렇게 얘기하는 거예요. 그래서 결론은 뭐예요? 우리의 경험, 우리의 일상생활은 우리 지구온난화를 측정하는 지표가 될 수가 없다. 이거예요.